was just putting this video game back together. I pulled it apart in a previous video, and while I was doing that, I was looking at the composite video connection and thinking, man, is it difficult to create composite video? Because there's nothing on this board that looks like a video processor chip or anything like that. So it must be the microcontroller, which is just a little blob chip on the other side of this board that's doing all the work. And then I started wondering, hey, would I be able to put my own microprocessor in this case and reuse all of the components and produce my own video game? The project is called ESP_8_bit, and this guy has created an emulator that will run on an ESP32 microprocessor. And, you know, it will emulate ATARI, NES and SMS game consoles with composite out and just using an ESP32 microprocessor. It's quite a powerful microprocessor. It has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built in. Yeah. And like I said, it's only about $10. So the idea would be that there's heaps of space in this case to put that in there. And I would rewire this. I can't actually remove this board, so the buttons on the front are actually on this board and the microprocessor is on this board, but that's okay. I think if I just cut the power to it, obviously the microprocessor won't be powered on, won't do anything, and then I can just find the solder points where the buttons connect to, and the joystick connection, obviously they're already broken out there, so I'll just rewire that onto points on the microprocessor, wire the composite video cables into it. I think I just need a couple of resistors, and then it's just a matter of software. Step 1, I'm going to have to just determine whether or not this is going to work. So I'm going to wire up this ESP32 for a breadboard usage, and then we'll connect the circuit and just make sure that the project still works and works on this model of ESP32. Okay, so this is a ground connection here. You can see it's marked GND. So I'll just see if I can get that grounded. It's not pretty, but it's on there. It's temporary. And the other thing is I need to find pin 25, I think it was. So yes, the video out needs to go to pin 25. All right, pin 25. Where are you? There you are. So the next step is I need to power the Arduino, and then if I plug this into my TV, the TV will either go pop or it should be outputting some sort of video from this microcontroller. Yes. We have a signal. That was a complete success. The audio quality was awesome. It sounded really good. So now I know that the circuit works. It's time to move on. I'm going to put this onto its own perf board and start working on getting the joystick working. So first of all, I have to wire all of the buttons up in such a way that I can connect the buttons directly to the micro. And then, of course, I probably will have to hack the source code to the program itself, because it doesn't have any support for buttons directly from the microprocessor. It allows you to connect a Bluetooth keyboard to it, or devices using IR, but it doesn't have support directly for buttons. This is a trick that I picked up from watching Ben Heck hacks. When he's connecting things, he always uses this ribbon cable, and it's great because it's really high quality cable, so it solders very well. It's thin, it's flexible, and it's easy to manipulate. And you can actually just strip a whole bunch of this ribbon cable with one hit if you have a stripper like this. So once I've stripped it, I need to split them into the right one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need 5 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's up to the white one, and of course having it multicolored also helps you keep track of. So you just split the insulation, drag it, and then you've got 5 wires. Now I've got a length, nice length there that we can attach to the pins over here. So the next one will be trying to figure out how to attach them to this. The problem I have now is that these buttons that are on the main board, the pads here, if you can see this, but for instance this button here, which is button B, I need to connect it to this side, to the microprocessor, but it has this little this rubber cushion that holds the contact away from the board, and then when you press down on it, it bridges the gap between this side, which is the earth side, and this side, which is going to a pin on the microprocessor. And if I were to solder something directly to here on this side, then it would get in the way of this little plunger. thing. So what I'm going to have to do is try and follow the trace to where it goes. Scrape off a bit of, this is actually going to a via, which is going through to the other side, so that might be a bit, I might have to go to the other side, but you can see in this one how that side snakes all the way down here and eventually will come out and go into a pin on the processor here. So somewhere along here, away from this pad, I need to connect it to, so about there. Scrape that back and try and solder a wire onto there. If I solder it directly over here, then it's going to get in the way of that rubber or that silicon plunger mechanism. I finished wiring the buttons up. So basically what I've done is I've attached this wire to the existing joystick panel. The buttons over on this main motherboard, the pads run directly to the microprocessor, so I was forced to cut the traces, and I attached these wires and then I used some super glue to hold them down so that they don't tear off. And I'm at the point now where I'm ready to wire it up to the ESP32. I was just having a look at where I might place the ESP32, and the only spot really is right in the center here. I originally was thinking about putting it on some perf board, but basically this raises the height up so much that it just won't work. So I've come back to the idea of just placing the ESP32 in here, connecting all of the wires and closing up the case, and see how that goes. It's alive. I've now got the ESP32 wired up. It's connected to the controller, and I have the emulator fired up. It's on ATARI. These are the games that come with it. The homebrew games, the ones that aren't copyrighted. So don't expect too much, but I'll just show you the joystick working. I have no idea how this game works. Some form of shooter. There's no sound because this little monitor doesn't, the input doesn't have any sound on it. But I'll get to that later on. But as you can see, this all works perfectly fine now as a joystick. Well, this is the big moment. I've screwed it all back together. I've just essentially shoved the microprocessor in the box and closed it up. So I hooked up the switch for power. And the only thing I haven't hooked up is the LED, which I will do later. But right now, all I care about is seeing whether or not this thing is going to work. That's not the right screw. All right, let's don't worry about that. So, batteries are in. It's connected up. Will it work? Yes. Here we go. It's working off battery power. Absolutely fantastic.